Welcome to Ill-Equipped History, where two best friends talk about some badass motherfucking people, and I'm so excited about this episode. I'm Morgan, and here's my co-host, Emily. She's amazing and awesome, and I love her so much.
Y'all, I think Morgan is so pumped about this episode.
I'm so excited.
Man, now I'm pumped.
Man,
you're bringing it.
I'm so ready. But I did have to tell you today, I had a kind of a scary afternoon.
Oh no!
I originally had some plans with some friends. We're in the middle of, or we're getting close to the end of it, and we're all like, we need some girl time. Let's all like get a drink after work today and just be with each other. But the weather was getting really bad in the Nashville area, to the point where we're like, maybe we should cancel our plans because we're on like a severe thunderstorm warning. There's people, I don't think there's tornado conditions, but people are talking about it. So I didn't really eat, so I went to one of my favorite restaurants after work because I wasn't meeting my friends, and I was waiting for my food, and it starts out of nowhere just hailing. Like marble size hail, and it's lightning, and there's crazy wind and thunder, and we're like, what's happening? I sent you a snap, Emily.
You did, hail. And I watched it. That is insane. It looked terrifying. And
it lasted for like less than 10 minutes, and I was like, I really hope my car is okay in the parking lot. And it was fine. Thankfully the hail wasn't too big, but it was really intense.
I don't like hail.
Yeah, I don't either. It's very scary. But I'm glad that I did stop to get something to eat, because if I hadn't, I would have been caught driving in the hail. And
don't you love when things like line up like that? Don't you love it?
Yeah, seriously.
Where it's like, what are the chances? I don't normally do this, but I've decided that, I want to do this today. And it like puts you in a situation that you wouldn't have normally been in. I love that.
Yeah. The only thing that's scary that happened afterwards is that I was on my way home, and I went kind of a back way because I figured like going the other way would be ridiculous because the interstate is that way. I mean, this storm maybe lasted 30 minutes, and there was a part where I was driving through like 6 inches of water. It was really scary. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I am in the middle of like a busy street with like lights and like 5 lanes of traffic. I don't know what to do. So I was just like, we were at a light, so I didn't stop in the puddle. But once like traffic started going, I was like, here's hoping for the best. And I made it through the puddle. But
I'm proud of you.
I was in my little Corolla. all the cars around me were like SUVs and stuff. I was like, oh, it's easy for you guys. But my engine's fine.
When I think of like a stressful situation, but you persevered, you made it through. Was that one time that the GPS took you on the tail of the dragon in the snow? And you called me crying. But damn it, you made it. You made it all the way through. I think about that more than I should. Like, I'm like, well, Morgan made it in that, like, in those conditions.
I'd had my driver's license for 1 month.
You were in that freaking Pathfinder named Godzilla.
And yeah, it was one of the most terrifying things. If you are a listener and you don't know what the Tail of the Dragon is, it's one of the curviest roads in North America, if not the curviest road in North America.
It's like over 300 turns in just a handful of miles.
Yeah.
Like,
and
Tail of the Dragon.
When I was driving on it, there were no guardrails, and it is it's through the mountains. So there's like cliffs, and the only thing that would stop you if you went over the edge are trees with like, I don't know, like a 90% incline. And it started snowing, and there was about like 2 inches of ice on the roads. It was like, it got to a point where like I was crying and I was going through it. this is as lost can get. And I like fishtailed, and I just stopped in the middle of the road, and I was just like, I crossed my arms and cried. I said, I'm just waiting right here until someone can help me. And very quickly, someone was coming down the mountain and saw me, and they're like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm not okay. No, I don't know where I am. Okay. I was trying to get to Saudi Daisy, and they're like, girl, you are almost in North Carolina. And I was like, where am I? And this is back in the days of MapQuest.
Yeah.
So I had followed like written directions, and I got confused, and I was naive, and I was like, around this turn will be what I need to see. Well, around this turn. Well, around this turn. And then it didn't stop. And I was like, I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to keep going forward, I guess.
Guys, it is 318 curves. And when we say curves, I mean switchbacks in 11 miles.
Emily threw up her guts one time on the dragon's
yes.
smell.
Okay, so Nick is a car guy. I don't know if you guys have figured that out. So on one of our first dates, I'm trying to impress this guy. He's Nick. He's confident, so he probably was not trying to impress me at all. But anyway, he had an S2000, and it was a convertible, canary yellow, and he took us out to Chinese. Mistake number one. And then he was like, I want to take you on the tail of the dragon. And I was like, cool, that's fine. Failed to mention that I get extremely car sick. So it's dark, and literally I'm looking through the windshield. There's no airflow to my face, and all I'm seeing is left and right trees, 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 trees. And I'm like, huh? And I like stop talking. And within 10 seconds, he went, are you okay? Are you going to throw up? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to throw up. So I got out of the car. He pulled over immediately because heaven forbid I was not going to throw up in his car. So I was just standing there throwing up. And he walked about 50 feet from me and just like took a leak. And honestly, well, it turns out that there was a lot going on there. One, how he knew that I was going to throw up by just me not talking anymore. The intuition on that man. He was like, something's wrong. And that is a sign to this day that I'm about to throw up as I immediately stop talking. And then two, it turns out he's a sympathy thrower-upper. Oh. So he was saving himself.
That makes sense, yeah.
You know, and I was like, you know what? We learned a lot about each other today.
I probably would have done the same thing, like get away from you. Like my heart is with you, but
yeah,
because I had that. We're going super off tangent. We will get to the story.
I
we're
promise.
not going to talk about throwing up too much more, but how I found out I'm a sympathetic puker was I had picked up a friend from a bar, and she was very, very drunk and was having a bad time. And so I came and got her, and the guy I was dating was in the back seat, and apparently she'd had a lot of like green apple vodka or something.
Oh no.
'Cause she starts spewing in the front seat. We are not even out of like the driveway of the bar yet, and I immediately like roll over, and I have my hand over my mouth, and I'm like trying to not, and I rush out of my car and I do my thing, and then I walk around, open the passenger door, I grab my friend, and I just throw her into the grass. I'm like, get out of my car.
Get out of my car. Oh, no.
And then I got her boyfriend to come pick her up because she was just, again, she was not doing well. And then my boyfriend and I had to clean up all the green apple puke in my car. It was awful.
Oh no.
That's how I found out baking soda is a good deodorizer.
It is. It's a very good deodorizer.
Anyway, enough about puking. We're going to talk about this super, super amazing person. in this episode I can't wait to tell you guys about. So
Woo!
let's get into our skit.
Yeah.
November 1942 in Lyon, France. Virginia Hall, codenamed Diana, is laying low in an apartment organizing documents when she receives a call from the American consulate.
Hello, is this Diana? How is the weather?
Yes, this is she. The weather is wet but fair.
Virginia, you've got to get out of there immediately.
What do you mean? I've been careful. No one knows I'm here.
You're wrong, Virginia. The Gestapo knows you're in Lyon. Claus Barbie is on his way, and you're about to be swarmed with Nazis leaving North Africa. They're invading the free zone.
Oh God. Okay, I will leave immediately.
Good. And Virginia, good luck, and God be with you.
Virginia calmly but quickly begins destroying intel and arranging necessary items to be collected by one of her contacts. Within hours, she's ready to leave and is able to take one of the last trains to the Spanish border before thousands of Nazis invade the area. Among the Nazis is Klaus Barbie, one of the most ruthless killers in the Gestapo, and he is looking for Virginia, known to the Nazis as the Limping Lady, and is considered one of the most dangerous spies in World War II.
I have no idea who this woman is. Oh. Okay.
Oh, my new favorite human.
I'm so excited.
Before I jump in to the story, I want to talk about a book I read for this episode. It was quite interesting. So the book is called Codename Badass, The True Story of Virginia Hall by Heather Demetrios.
Okay.
So I got this for free on Libby as an ebook. So it was very convenient. A lot of really great information. Heather Demetrios met with Virginia's living relative that had a lot of information and documents and photos. She got a lot of documents firsthand from archives and from different government agencies. She did a lot of really good research for this book, and everything that I looked up was mentioned in other sources that used other of their own sources. There's several books. There's one that came up a lot. It's called A Woman of No Importance, and that came out pretty recently, and it's like a bestseller. But I do want to say this book had a lot of really great information. If you do want to read it, I just want to let you know the writing is very casual. It's very like a conversation with the author, but sometimes to the point where I'm worried, I felt it distracted me from the story a little bit. A lot of unironic, hashtag girl boss in the writing. So just know that going in, again, I think the research was very well done. And when I was getting into the story about Virginia, I think Demetrios did a really great job with the research. And there's a lot of information. My notes were not near as long before I read the book than after. And again, everything I read was corroborated by other resources I looked up. So I just want you to know that, but I'll be referring to the book a lot in this, so I just wanted to go ahead and get that out there.
Okay.
So, let's talk about Virginia Hall. She was born April 6, 1906 in Baltimore, Maryland to her father Edwin Lee Hall, who was a banker and a merchant, and her mother Barbara, who she was his secretary. And when Barbara married Ned, it rose her class. So she became a Baltimore socialite, and that was very important to Barbara. Virginia also had a brother named John, and the Hall family was very close to each other. They called her Dindy.
Dindy.
And actually, Heather in the book calls Virginia Dindy throughout the book, but I will be calling her by Virginia.
Okay.
The family was very wealthy. They were very well traveled. They went to Europe. They went all kinds of places, and they had everything they ever needed or wanted. Because again, they're wealthy. They're not like insanely wealthy, but they're like upper class.
They're well off.
Yeah, they're very well off. Virginia was not a typical girl in the early 1900s. She was what we would call today a tomboy. She loved playing outdoors. She loved hunting, climbing trees, riding horses. She loved doing sword fights, and she wore pants.
Ah, I love to see it.
I was like reading all that. I was like, Emily would fucking love this woman.
Oh, I love this woman.
And
yes.
We have two bullet points in.
Already.
Apparently she was very good at making cheese as well.
Hey, that's hard. That shit's hard.
Yeah, they had a little farm, and so she would like milk goats and make cheese from the goat milk, and she just loved doing it. She was very close to her father. They would like go to movies together, just the two of them, and he taught her how to hunt and shoot guns, and he even bought her her shotgun, which will come back later. She also attended the amazing schools. She went to Roland Park Country School to get a good education and learn to be a high-class lady to catch a high-class man. While at Roland Park, she was the class president and yearbook editor.
Okay.
She was very popular as well. Her classmates...
Of course she was.
Her classmates called her Fighting Blade. That was one of her several nicknames. Fighting Blade.
How badass do you need to be to have that kind of nickname? What the hell?
So this is a quote from the yearbook that her classmates put in for her. Quote, "She is, by her own confession, cantankerous and capricious. But in spite of it all, we would not do without her, for she is our class president, the editor-in-chief of this book, and one of the mainstays of the basketball and hockey teams. She has been acclaimed the most original of our class, and she lives up to her reputation at all times. The one thing to expect from Dindy is the unexpected."
You can stop the episode right there.
I know. She's just so fucking cool.
And she's just like in her teens.
I know. And she's just so cool. I think I literally have a picture. I have a lot of pictures for you, Emily. And one, I think I just put, she's just so cool.
Oh, you did. She's just like posing against a wall.
She's in like Italy or something.
Okay, casually.
I know. Other nicknames at school include the Love Dodger, because she was not going to settle down, but the boys were throwing themselves at her. She was beating them off with sticks. Of course they were. And Donna Juanita, like a female Don Juan, for the same reasons. Many men wanted her, but she did not want to settle down.
Hell no.
After graduating from Roland Park, she set her sights on post-secondary education, but her mother, who was a traditionalist, high-class lady, wanted Virginia to have good prospects and a high-class husband. Because, I mean, this is the 1920s.
Yeah.
At this point. And women, you know, they have their place in society. And her mother wanted to make sure that she was going to be taken care of. So when Virginia was 19, she became engaged to a young man who was from a good family. It seems like it was sort of an arranged union, because the families were like, oh, if Virginia and this guy marry, then that will be good for like our family businesses.
Right.
But he was kind of a bastard and like cheated on her all the time.
Well, that's rude.
And they really didn't like each other, so Virginia broke off the engagement and went to college.
Good for her.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I love it.
So she attended Radcliffe College, the female learning institution at Harvard, for a year. It was like a women's college there. And then she transferred to Barnard College in 1925 in Manhattan. She was an okay student. She made C's.
Okay.
Straight C's. The book says she failed gym because she just didn't go.
She's like, I'm too busy hunting and Making cheese.
Well, and one thing that she really wanted to do, she wanted to travel the world. Virginia wanted to be a diplomat. Like, that was her life goal. And so she studied languages. She became very fluent in several languages, starting in French.
Wow.
And I think she also studied political science, too, to, start that dream.
Yeah.
And then in 1926, she transferred to the, I looked up how to say this, École Libre de Sciences Politiques in Paris.
Okay.
I repeated that like 10 times to myself to try to pronounce it right.
I'm so proud of you. I really am.
There's a lot of French that I had to look up in this episode. But basically another university. And then the following year, she transferred to Vienna to continue studying political sciences and economics. So literally like every year she's going to a different school for like her undergrad.
Good Lord.
While in Vienna, she met a handsome Polish officer named Emil.
Okay.
And while she was attending school, she traveled all around Europe. She became super fluent in French, Spanish, Italian, Russian, and German.
Okay.
I know.
Damn.
And in 1929, when she was 23 years old, she graduated from the Consular Academy in Vienna. After she graduated, she and Emil became engaged.
Okay.
Her father, who was funding her trip to Europe and paying for everything, forbid Virginia from marrying Emil.
Aww.
Because he was afraid that she would never come home.
Well, that's rude.
I know. And he was like, oh, she'll just like get over it. She needs to come home. And Virginia, even though she was such a free spirit, she loved her dad and didn't want to disappoint him, so she broke off the engagement and went back to the United States. When she came back to the U.S., she enrolled in George Washington University in D.C. for grad school, and she majored in French and economics. And in 1929, the Great Depression hit.
Yeah.
And the Hall family were really impacted.
Oh, man.
It didn't... I saw in some places they became destitute, but also they were able to hold on to their property.
Yeah.
Ned still had his businesses, but it was a really, really stressful time.
Okay.
But despite this, Virginia did well enough in school to pass her classes, and she took the Foreign Service exam, which you needed to take to become an ambassador or a diplomat. And she apparently passed with 100%.
Wow.
But nothing happened.
Yeah.
And this, unfortunately, will be a continuing theme. Because she's a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Tragically, her father died in 1931. He was only 59 years old.
No.
And nowhere said this, but I suspect that it was probably the stress from the Depression.
Yeah.
And like him trying to keep his businesses afloat, because he literally died in front of one of his offices.
Oh, shit. It sounds like a heart thing or like,
just dropped dead. Yeah. And this was super hard for Virginia. He had actually started becoming a lot more accepting of her quote-unquote alternative lifestyle. Which, I mean, like, he was never, like, unaccepting, but he was like, okay, like, I really see how much of a free spirit you really are.
Yeah.
But now that, I mean, the Depression is going on, they're basically destitute, and now Ned is dead. Her mother was like, go do what you want. You know, I can't stop you. So Virginia was like, okay, I want to be a diplomat. So she had a friend that worked in the American Embassy in Warsaw, Poland, and they helped her get a job there. So from 1931 to 1933, she was a clerk at the American Embassy in Warsaw. She had a great time there, even though it wasn't quite what she wanted to do again. Like, she had her sights set. And some of the sources that I looked through said maybe she was trying to find Emil again, but they never saw each other again.
Oh.
I know. So her job while in Warsaw was to decode messages, do paperwork, clerical stuff. Mm-hmm. She did take She did try to take the Foreign Service exam again in 1932, but the questions never got sent to her. Because she's like, okay, whatever. So she decides to transfer, and she decides to go to Izmir, Turkey, for a change of scenery. So she went to the American embassy there. She's still doing clerical work. Still not quite what she wants to do, but she knows how to make the best of her situation, have a good time.
Yeah.
She was continuing to make requests to become an officer or a diplomat or something, but she just kept getting blocked, unfortunately. So on December 8th, 1933, Virginia and some of her friends were blowing off some steam, and they were hiking and hunting snipe in the Izmir countryside.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia went to go, step over a wire fence while holding her shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
And the gun slipped. So she went to go grab it. And she accidentally pulled the trigger and shot herself in the left foot.
Oh, shit.
At point blank range. With a shotgun.
Ah!
Mm-hmm. So her friends rush her to the hospital.
Thank God she wasn't alone.
I know, right? For 3 weeks, doctors are working to save her life.
Right.
But unfortunately, this is before antibiotics, so infection sets in. So on Christmas, they have to amputate her leg below the knee.
Oh, shit.
And then she almost died from sepsis afterwards. She wasn't out of the woods yet, so she's continuing to battle all this infection. But she made it through, and she was transferred to Istanbul, which for a higher quality hospital, and she was able to further recover. She was 27 years old.
Oh, my God.
So when she was stabilized, she wasn't on the brink of death anymore. She went back home to the United States for additional repair surgeries because, after an amputation, you need further surgeries to correct anything and make sure that everything's fine. And started physical therapy. She had to learn how to walk again. She was fitted with a new prosthesis, a hollow wooden leg she named Cuthbert.
Cuthbert?
Cuthbert.
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 Okay.
And the way that the leg attached, so she had the leg, and she could put her stump in the prosthesis, and it had straps that went up her leg that connected to a belt she had to wear around her waist, because they didn't, it's the 1920s, 1930s at this point, so technology is still pretty limited compared to what we have today. And this was not a comfortable prosthetic. It caused her pain almost every day. So, but that's what they had. So after about a year of recovery, she was ready to get back at it. She wrote to the State Department saying she was ready to work again. So she was sent to the American consulate in Venice, Italy on December 9th, 1934. And in 1934, that's when Benito Mussolini was starting to gain power and fascism was starting to rise in Italy. And 2 years later, Italy invaded Ethiopia, and that's considered the prelude to World War II starting. And while she was in Italy, she applied to be a consulate there. And she was blocked yet again. And so this woman, she never took vacations. She always worked overtime. All of her colleagues and supervisors liked her, but it seems like the people who were in charge of making these decisions thought that her personality was just too much. So this is a quote from a diplomat named Huddle. He wrote, quote, "She is not good material for a career service because she lacks judgment, background, good sense, and discriminatory powers. She also talks too much."
Rude.
I know.
Rude.
I know. And that same year, she tried to take the exam again. And the people, the men in charge, were so desperate to not give her a chance. They found the super old rule in their handbook that was oh, foreign officers cannot have disabilities or missing limbs.
What?
I know. And she was like, that is fucking bullshit. And again, she has friends in high places. So she wrote to them. And they ended up contacting the president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Oh, shit.
Who was a wheelchair user. Because he had polio.
Oh.
So he was like, why the fuck is this very qualified woman being blocked from an officer position? And the Secretary of State was like, oh yeah, this is absolute nonsense. This should not be happening. This rule that they provided is a case-by-case basis. But it doesn't apply to her. It's like covering for the whole thing.
Uh-huh. Sure.
So the Assistant Secretary of State wrote a letter to FDR saying it wasn't because of her disability that she wasn't being considered for an officer's position, but because she had no experience or credentials for the role, which was a lie. She spoke like 6 languages and had been in the embassies for years at this point.
Oh my God.
And she passed the exam every time she took it.
Yes.
And this whole time, like, she's been receiving praise for her work ethic and experience for years at this point. So the president was like, well, this is evidence. Because he doesn't know Virginia. So he's like, okay, she's not qualified. Case closed. And Virginia ended up being transferred to Estonia in 1938. And in one source, I saw that the Secretary of State banned her from applying for a higher level position.
Banned her? Mm-hmm. Oh, I'd be pissed.
And the book says that after she left Italy, a man was hired for her position, given a vice consul position, and he got a raise.
Oh, fuck those guys.
Yeah. Okay. So, in 1939, Virginia resigned from her position with the State Department and went to France to get repairs for Cuthbert because he needed frequent repairs. We're going to talk about Cuthbert like he's an actual person. You know, he's a wooden leg.
I like him.
So while in France, like, she just was like, I just need some money. I need some work. So she freelanced for some different newspapers, like American newspapers in Paris. And there was a lot to discuss in 1939 in France, like the Spanish Civil War and the harassment of Jewish people from the Nazi Party. And on September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. And by September 3rd, both Britain and France declared war on Germany. World War II has begun.
Yes.
So Virginia was like, hey, I want to help. I'm not... Like, I want to be involved. So she tried to enroll in the British Auxiliary Territorial Service. I've seen that she wasn't allowed to because she was American. And I've seen that she wasn't allowed to because she had a prosthetic. And had one leg, essentially.
Okay.
So she went back to France. And the French army were like, fuck yeah, we would love to have you. Do you want to drive an ambulance on the front lines? And she was like, yeah. So she did.
I would love to.
She served with the 9th Artillery Regiment on the Western Front as a private second class.
Holy shit.
She was only 20 miles from the Maginot Line.
Wow.
Which was where the fighting was happening between Germany and France.
Also, all of those vehicles back then had clutches.
Yeah.
Driving, which leg was it?
Her left. I think the book said that she was able to use her right foot for the pedals because, like, they sit on the right in France.
Really? Because I asked Nick one day because I was really curious. I was like, do the pedals switch when you switch? And I think he told me they don't. But either way, you have to use them at the same time. So you'd still need to use both legs to pull off on the clutch while and hit that. I'm impressed is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No.
I'm so impressed.
So she served in the Battle of France, which lasted from May to June 1940.
Wow.
During active battle, with bombs dropping and bullets flying, Virginia was driving an ambulance by herself, picking up injured soldiers with one leg.
What a badass!
I know! We're not even at the most badassness of her.
Oh my god, if she got like shot in the leg, it wouldn't hurt.
No. Speaking of, though, she did have to go to, every time she like went to a hospital to drop off soldiers, she had to get Cuthbert repaired. And to make things even more challenging, she was responsible for finding her own fuel.
What?
I know. I guess they're like, we can't be bothered to fuel an ambulance, so you have to make sure that the ambulance is fueled up.
Oh my god.
In the end, the Germans ended up invading Paris, and France surrendered. Philippe Pétain was a World War I veteran, and he kind of rose to represent France militarily. And he is the one that made a deal with Hitler when the Nazis invaded, that France would be divided into occupied and free zones, with the Germans in the occupied zones. The French government would move to Vichy, and it would be like a subordinate government. 90,000 soldiers died in this battle. So when the armistice between France and Germany was signed, Virginia's unit was disintegrated, and she finished doing her job, and then they went to central France. And then Virginia made her way to England. She had to like kind of escape a little bit because, the Nazis invading France. But fortunately for her, the U.S. was neutral at the time. So she was able to use her documents to leave out of Spain. Because she couldn't go directly to England because England or Britain was actively fighting against the Germans. But she was able to get to Spain and then get to England from there. When she was there, she worked for the Office of the Military Attaché at the U.S. Embassy as a code clerk for about 5 months during the Blitz.
Oh, shit.
And while she was working at this office, she met some people who worked for the British Special Operations Executive, or the SOE. And the SOE wanted to send spies into continental Europe and other locations to spy on the Nazis and their collaborators. And this was like going to be the British arm of the resistance in France. Right. So Virginia went to a party with a bunch of SOE people. She met this guy named Nicholas Boddington, who was one of the higher-ups for Section F, or the France sector. Okay. She made quite the impression on him, and so he recommended her to the SOE. And she was assigned to Section F. Her quote-unquote boss was a man named Maurice Buckmaster, who knew women had what it took to do what was necessary.
Oh, thank God somebody knows.
I know.
Oh, thanks, Buckmaster.
I know. So this is a quote from Maurice Buckmaster. Quote, "Some people have suggested that we should never have sent women on these missions at all. I cannot agree. Women are as brave and as responsible as men, often more so. They are entitled to a share in the defense of their beliefs no less than are men. I should have been failing in my duty to the war effort if I had refused to employ them, and I should have been unfair to their abilities if I had considered them unequal to the duties which were imposed upon them."
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Go Buckmaster.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Go Maurice Buckmaster.
And his right-hand woman was Vera Atkins. And there's more about Maurice and Vera in the book. This episode is long enough just talking about Virginia, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about them. So she was sent to France in 1941 with the cover of a journalist for the New York Post. So she was still able to speak English. People knew that she was an American. She actually had her own legitimate identities, like her legit Virginia Hall paperwork. But her mission, when she was sent over, was to be eyes and ears. Because people were like, she can't be a real spy. She never even got any, training. They were just go over and, give us intel. And that quickly was not her mission. Because this woman gets shit done.
Yes.
And one thing that I don't understand is that, and this isn't even the last time this happens, like, people, like, keep underestimating Virginia, or they keep saying that she can't do this and she can't do that. And I don't know why. And part of me wonders if she, from descriptions of her, it sounds like she did not give a shit.
Yeah.
About anything. Like, she seems like she may have been abrasive.
Yeah.
Again, like, she didn't give a shit. Like, she was kind and she wanted to do what was right, but she also...
She would tell it how it is. Like, she just opinionated.
And I think that rubbed people the wrong way so much that they felt like she was incompetent.
Well, I mean, think about the time, the women surrounding her who had been brought up to keep their mouth shut and do what they're told.
Right.
And now you have this one woman that is speaking out and talking back and saying their opinion and doing what they want and wearing pants, for God's sake. And it was probably so baffling to the men that she could not be controlled, that they're like, you couldn't even do what I asked you to do, which is shut up. So why would I trust you with anything else?
I think that's exactly it. I think you've nailed hit the nail on the head. That's the expression, right?
Hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I had to think about it. I was like, nail, hammer. I kept wanting to say hammer.
I don't even... what was in my brain was not correct. Another thing that came up in a few different sources is that it was very... And this is a practical reason why she, like, maybe sending her as a spy was not 100% the best choice. Because this is a young woman. She's, like, in her, like, late 20s, early 30s, with a very identifiable feature. She has a limp because she has a prosthetic leg.
Even if she covers the leg, you can still tell there's a limp.
How many young American women have limps? Not a lot. Like, you do, but...
It's not my fault!
Sorry, that roast came out way more intense than I meant.
Well, me and Virginia are just two peas in a pod.
You are. So, it was just risky because the more identifiable features you have, the easier your cover is blown.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. To the point where sometimes she had to use an umbrella as a cane. You know, because, like, especially if she was in a lot of pain that day.
Yeah.
And she can't run away. Like, if people are chasing her, she can't run away.
That's terrifying. That makes me respect her even more, because she knew she couldn't. She knew.
Yeah.
Wow.
She absolutely did. Another thing that's kind of funny. You know, I said she was fluent in, like, 6 different languages? Yeah. She had the strongest American accent that would not go away for the life of her. Indisguisable. And it didn't hurt when she was, like, portraying an American in France, but if she had to act like a native citizen to whatever country she was in because, again, she was fluent, could not hide her American accent, to the point where if she was trying to pass as, like, a French woman, she had to have a handler with her to do all the talking so she wouldn't give away her cover as an actual American woman.
Wow, that's, you know what, again, me and her, we're together on this, because if I started speaking Spanish right now, you can tell there's still a country accent in there.
Right,
like, you'd be able to tell. No, I get it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just can't make it not do the thing.
And she was from Baltimore, so she had, like, some kind of weird New England accent going on there.
Oh, yeah, I'm very, very familiar with that form of accent because of Nick's family, and that's a strong one. It's a strong one.
So, like I said, she used her actual passport and real name to get into France and, like, sign in, because, again, the U.S. was neutral, but they were still, like, she had to, like, check in with like the different agencies. But if she was getting a hotel room or something like that, she had different undercover names or cover names that she would use.
So I'm imagining like in every spy movie where like a briefcase gets like opened and like 10 passports fall out and they're all the same face, but they all have different identities. Like that's what I'm picturing. Yeah, where she just had a different name for whatever situation she needed.
She had 2 confirmed aliases named Brigitte Lecomte and Marcel Montan. I hope I pronounced this right. Again, I practiced a lot. So those were like additional identities that she used. And code names with the SOE include Marie, Philomena, and Diana. So like if she was like arranging a contact with someone else, they'd say, go meet Agent Diana, instead of using her real name. So when she went to France, she went to Vichy, which is where the new puppet government was being set up. While there, again, she's undercover as a journalist, so she started writing articles about what was going on in France, including how people had to ration food and medicine, how the Jewish people were being targeted, and new hardships civilians faced. And this went back to the U.S., and like her mother was reading her articles. And while doing this, she was like informing like resistance fighters like secret information. And also she's just like literally as soon as she got there, she was like, I'm not eyes and ears. I'm like going to start connecting like different contacts and like getting information out, and people will come to me for information, and I'm going to help protect people. Like she was helping down fighter pilots and other political targets. She would help people find food and medicine. She would take people to safe houses. And at the same time, because she was like a quote unquote journalist, she could like go to high government offices and be like, hey, I'm a journalist. Can I ask you some questions? And like get the inside scoop from like high ranking military officials.
So she was still eyes and ears, but she was doing just so many side quests.
Oh yeah. Too.
I love it.
I can't even tell, like, again, this episode is long enough already. I go into like not a lot, like not detail, but I cover a lot of what she did. I still don't think it's everything, honestly. Wow. So again, she started out as eyes and ears. Her real job became making contacts to protect other agents, lost Allied soldiers. She was forging documents and papers for people. And she was really, like, again, she's a popular person. She has a charisma about her where people like her. Unless, like, you're a man in power. But, I mean, she had lots of male and female friends. Like, really, really close, intimate contacts that, like, a few knew her real name.
Wow.
That she really, really trusted. So, she was in Vichy for a little while, and then she went to Lyon a few months later. It was a bigger city. It was easier to travel back and forth from. It had easier access to resources and contacts. But Lyon was the headquarters of sorts for the Nazi party, even though it was in the free zone. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So she was doing all of this within blocks of Nazis.
God, what a bold woman. I
know. Like, I'm so obsessed with her. So while in Lyon, she like found she was like in a hotel that was like her residence, and she became a stopping point for agents and was like an information hub for resistance fighters all throughout France. Wow. And if you needed something, she could either get it for you or she knew who had it.
Wow.
So while in Lyon, her spy cell was called the Heckler Circuit. And I've seen like one of her codenames was Heckler as well, which I think is funny. And that was like her cell. She was in charge of it. She helped organize and keep track of resistance sabotage efforts. Again, her headquarters was in a hotel, so it wasn't too unusual for people to be coming in and out. So it was it wasn't like 5 million people coming in and out of her house every day.
Right.
And again, she knew it all. How to get a downed airman back to England. If someone needed a password for another cell, who could be bribed and who couldn't. How to get rations for illegal supplies. How to get arms. Where were certain rendezvous points. She had it all.
Wow.
So the book set has a few quotes from this historian named M.R.D. Foote. And he was specifically an SOE historian. And he wrote, quote, "This was quite as dangerous as actual sabotage and much duller. But without her, indispensable work, about half of F Section's early operations in France could never have been carried out at all."
Wow.
And another element of danger in all of this, as all of this is going on, another element of danger is the SOE was utilizing, and not just the SOE, other spy rings, but especially the SOE were utilizing wireless transmitters to get information to the SOE and back. But the Germans had developed a signal that could identify those wireless signals.
Oh.
And the operators had one of the highest casualty rates in the SOE during this time.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Because, Germans would literally have vans with, an antenna driving around trying to find these wireless signals. And if you couldn't use your transmitter for more than 30 minutes or they would catch you.
Wow.
So a lot of SOE operators got caught and killed very early in the war because of this. You had to be on the move all the time. You had to change up the time of day, signal broadcast, and again, you couldn't do it more than 30 minutes at a time. Okay, so Virginia's kicking ass in Lyon.
Of course.
She's doing her thing. 7 weeks after she's in Lyon, after she gets to Lyon, there are several agents in the SOE who are trying to make contact with Agent Christoph, who we don't know who he is. I don't think the book said his real name. But he seems like kind of a bumbling person, maybe not the best agent.
Okay.
He had told all these agents trying to find him, come meet me at the Via de Bois in Marseille. To the either it was him or one of the agents, someone left behind. The book didn't say what. It was either someone wrote it down and it got found, or he legit set out a broadcast. No one knows. But the authorities found out. Because the French authorities in the Free Zone were allied with the Germans. So the French police were acting on behalf of the Nazi Party. So Virginia, heard about this. She was like, I ain't going. This is stupid. And she was one of, if not the only spy in that whole region that did not go to that villa. And the Vichy police arrested all of the agents there.
Oh, God.
Over 12 agents were arrested.
Oh, my God.
By December of 1941, over a third of SOE agents had been arrested. Again, this is dangerous.
Yeah.
In 1942, the U.S. has entered the war. So now, the U.S. is no longer neutral, so she is, her as an American can't just, walk around. She has to have, weekly checks or daily checks to, sign in and be like, hey, I'm not doing nefarious stuff while I'm here, because she's still in France as Virginia Hall, an American citizen.
A reporter. Yeah.
A reporter. As time went on, and the more successful Virginia was in her efforts, word started spreading of a limping woman helping to take people through the mountains to safety and helping people get what they needed. Because again, a limp is a very noticeable feature.
Oh no.
I know. And there's not a lot of young women with a limp and a prosthetic leg, so she stood out. So a fellow SOE agent named Peter Churchill, he needed out. He was on a mission and it went south, so he needed to get out of Marseille. So Virginia and another agent, only known by Olivier, were in a cafe waiting to meet with Churchill when the French police busted in. So all of the guests had to line up, and the police captain, he sees Virginia and Olivier. He says, those two, I want to talk to them. Lock them in that room. So they get locked into a room. The room has a window. The police captain was a friend of Olivier's. And he made sure they got locked in a room with a window and they escaped.
What? 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 Oh my God.
I know.
Oh, it's good to have connections.
I know. And Virginia was able to escape and get Churchill to safety in the Pyrenees Mountains. And Churchill's also brought up a lot in the book. I'm not going to get into a lot to him, but he was a major spy during World War II.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Next section, jailbreak.
Okay.
So you know those agents who had all been arrested at the villa?
Yeah.
They were all in a French internment camp called Mauzac. And Virginia started working really closely with one of the wives of one of the prisoners, Gabby Bloch. And Gabby would be allowed to like bring like food in for her husband. They would kiss, they would smooch, and she would give them like cheese and jam and stuff. And in the jam and the cheese were supplies and tools and that Virginia helped like collect and organize. And she was working with another man on the inside to like help coordinate an escape attempt. And on July 16th, 1942, 11 agents and one guard that helped them out successfully escaped Mauzac.
Yes. I love this.
I know. So this is a quote from the book. Historian M.R.D. Foote says the escape of Mauzac's 11 must surely rank as one of the war's most useful operations of the kind, as many of these men would go on to give the Nazis some serious what for over the course of the war.
Aha!
Okay,
I love
so
this.
we had a really big high. Now we're in for a really big low.
Oh.
A double agent has entered the midst.
No!
A priest came into Lyon named Alesh, who said he was part of the resistance, and everyone believed him, even though a lot of people thought he was really creepy and weird. But he was a double agent for the Nazis. A priest.
And a priest.
This guy was evil. He would literally like get young people and be like, hey, I'm part of this really cool resistance against the Nazis. You want to join? And they'd be like, yeah, like, fuck the Nazis. And he would immediately turn them into the Nazis. Evil.
Oh my God.
He got over 60 people arrested by the Nazis.
Probably killed.
Probably. Or at least sent to concentration camps.
Yeah.
So he came to Lyon to try to identify Virginia. Because again, the Nazis have heard of a limping lady that's like foiling their plans and helping the Allies.
How dare a woman?
So he cozied up to one of Virginia's closest allies and contacts, Dr. Jean Rosset. And she thought he was legit at first. And so unfortunately, like, Alesh did get really crucial information. But at some point, Virginia was like, okay, this guy's really weird. He's real sus. He's really, really sus. So she did stop giving him information, but it was too late.
Oh.
And he had infiltrated the circle in Lyon.
Yeah.
So now we're in for jailbreak part 2.
Okay.
A few months after the successful Mauzac job, Virginia worked on another one at the, I think it's Cost prison.
Mm-hmm.
She was able to get 2 French guards on her side. They were going to help her out. And she called in her literal muscle, the Newton brothers, codenamed the twins. They were not twins, but they were like, I'm imagining like those like big, beefy, like square jawed, like, and they're also very involved in the story. I'm not going to get into too much detail about them. But while she was starting to collect fake documents for all these imprisoned agents, she was also making documents for 11 Jewish people needing misidentifying paperwork. Because at this time, Jews were having to have paperwork that labeled them as Jews.
Yeah.
And she was making them paperwork where they didn't have that Jew stamp on them. So they could hide. Because she does it all.
Yeah. All of it.
So she coordinated this escape mission, and the twins were able to get all the agents out, but one of the guards betrayed Virginia and sold her address to the Vichy police.
No.
the SOE got word that Virginia's unit was compromised, and they started working on... Sorry, a bug crawled across my screen.
Oh, rude.
I was like, oh, what is that? Ah! I thought it was a really dark floater for a second. So the SOE got word that Virginia's unit was compromised, and they started working on getting her out of there, but they didn't have a whole lot of urgency. She was like, hey, are you going to like arrange for me to get out? And they're like, we're working on it. And like a little while had passed. She's like, hey, I'm still here. You said I'm compromised. Are you going to get me out of here? And they're like, oh, we're still working on it. So another SOE agent was like, Virginia can't leave because she is so close to all of her contacts. You can't just give her contacts to another person. She's built trust and relationships with these people, and they're not going to trust a complete stranger coming in. Right. And he has a point. Like, Virginia had spent months developing these really close contacts and relationships. Demetrios said in her book, quote, no one on the spot was capable of replacing her.
Wow.
So that was another thing. It's like, but she's so important. She's so important. Like, no one can just come in. So in October 1942, Virginia left her spot and moved into an apartment owned by one of her most trusted contacts, Germaine Guerin.
Okay.
I hope I said her name right. She was another big spy. She was like a brothel owner, and like the women in the brothel would like pillow talk with Nazis and like send back information and stuff. The book goes into a lot more detail about like just women in World War II and like the different roles that women, including sex workers, had during World War II and like in the resistance. And so while at this apartment, she continued to organize more sabotage and reconnaissance missions. Meanwhile, the Gestapo was working on getting locals in on ratting out resistance members and spies, especially a limping lady. They're like, hey, what was it? It was like a front that was like promising to be on like to get more food or something, or to like be on this thing, and people would join and be like, hey, actually it's not this thing, it's actually a front to get you to like rat out other people, and if you successfully bring us in like a spy or resistance fighter, you get like a shit ton of money. And France during like Nazi occupation, people were starving.
Yeah. Because
the Nazis were just taking up all the resources for themselves, and it made people very desperate. And again, she was left to wait for the SOE to plan her escape for over a month while people are actively looking for her. So on November 7th, Virginia received word from the American consulate that the Nazis were about to invade the free zone, and she had to get the hell out of there.
Right now. Yeah.
Right now. So she immediately starts destroying evidence. She starts arranging, like, she's got a ton of money, because that's another thing. Like, she would give money to people. So she's got, like, hundreds of thousands of francs in her pocket that she's like, I can't just take it all with me. I've got to. So she's like arranging stuff, and like all important information that couldn't be destroyed. She was like making sure it had a place. And actually, one of the twins was supposed to escort her, but he was late.
Oh no!
And so, like early, either I think it was like really early in the morning or really late at night. On November 8th, she was like, she had hours to get out of Lyon. So she got on one of the last trains out of Lyon.
Wow.
Hours after she left, one of the most evil men to have ever lived came to Lyon. His name was Klaus Barbie, and he's called the Butcher of Lyon.
Oh.
Like this, I'm not going to go into detail about the horrors that he did, but just thinking about him makes my stomach hurt. Like, I'm nauseous right now just thinking about him. So he arrived to Lyon to find the Limping Lady.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted posters were put up all around Lyon saying, the woman who limps is one of the most dangerous Allied agents in France. We must find and destroy her.
Destroy is a hard word.
It is. There is a quote from Barbie that I did not include, but he says, I cannot wait to get my hands and choke that bitch.
What? This dude has some major anger issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He delighted in death.
Ugh.
Yeah, he's one of those.
Ugh.
I'm not going to go into more detail. And Dr. Rousset, the twins, Germaine, and all of her other contacts in Lyon were captured shortly after Virginia escaped.
Oh.
Some survived. I think Rousset, the twins, and Germaine all lived through the end of the war, but not all of them survived. I think Olivier was killed in a concentration camp, and a few others were as well. So Virginia got to the town of Perpignan, and while on her way, she picked up 3 men who also needed to escape France.
Of course she did.
Because she did. There's a few theories. One, they needed help escaping, and Virginia wasn't not going to help them.
Right.
Because that's who she is. But also, she believed that if she just showed up to... Because the guides that would take people over the Pyrenees Mountains from France into Spain, they were very harsh. These were not kind people. And if she showed up with a prosthetic leg and like fell behind, the guide would leave her.
Yeah.
To die. And so it was also for her own protection a little bit. Like, it's one, it's just safety in a group.
Right.
And 2, like, if she did fall a little bit behind, like, another man could, like, help her out a little bit.
Right. Right.
Or hurt. So by November 11th, 2 or 3 days after she escapes, the Germans are officially invading the free zone of France.
Wow.
And Virginia and the other men started their 3-day grueling hike over the Pyrenees Mountains.
Oh, shit.
This woman has 1 leg and is hiking over a mountain range.
Oh, my God.
It was hell. It was actual hell. There's this quote. And she either sent this either before or during her hike over the Pyrenees. She radioed the SOE to say, like, where she was. And she said, "Cuthbert is giving me trouble, but I can cope." And the answering person didn't know who Cuthbert was. And they said, "If Cuthbert is giving you trouble, have him eliminated."
She's probably like, I'd rather not.
Yeah, I kind of need him. And it was, I mean, she was in so much pain. Like, she was in pain just walking every day. Like, now she has to hike, like, over 1,500 feet in, like, rocky, like, dangerous mountains. Like, people have done, I read the accounts of 2 people, or I listened to one, I read another, about 2 people in modern day who did the same hike she did with modern equipment. One almost died, and the other one, like, almost didn't, like, she really struggled, too, with, like, modern equipment. She was like, we don't,
Wow.
Both of them were like, we don't know how she did it with 1 leg.
That's insanity.
But she was going for her life.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
like,
they were on a, leisurely, no one's chasing them.
right. And it's
She
either
was going.
It's either the Gestapo or the mountains, and she chose the mountains.
Mountain.
So there was another problem with Spain, and Spain was, I think, technically allied with the Axis. They weren't, or at least they were, like, trying to be friendly to Germany.
Yeah.
They didn't want to piss off Germany, but they weren't neutral. But they also didn't want to piss off, like, Britain and the U.S.
Right.
So, but it was dangerous because if you were caught, like, escaping over the mountains, they would arrest you.
Yeah.
And sometimes shoot you.
Ugh.
So, like, getting into Spain was its own danger as well. So, Virginia and the other men got to Spain on Friday the 13th.
Oh, shit. Oh, no. Oh, no.
And Virginia, I saw that she got to the train station at about 4 to 4:30 a.m., which was way too early for a train. And I also saw, like, not only was she, like, hours early, which was sign 1, that she wasn't local, but also she didn't have like the proper like documentation in her passport. Yeah. So she was arrested in Spain.
Oh.
While on the inside, she made friends, because she's fluent in Spanish.
Yeah.
She made friends with some of the sex workers that were also jailed up. And one of the sex workers said that she would go deliver a note on her behalf to the American consulate in Spain. And she did.
Wow. Oh, she's making friends, and those friends are pulling through.
I know.
Ah!
She was released on December 2nd, and she made her way back to England.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So she gets to England. She debriefs. She rests. God knows she deserves it.
Yes.
And she's like, put me back in there. And they're like, you're not fucking going back to France. You're made. So she goes to Spain to be more eyes and ears. And she was working on like developing an escape line through Spain. Mm-hmm. But the head of the SOE there didn't think that she was equipped to do so. So her job was to entertain guests?
What?
I can't comprehend it. I don't understand.
How would they think she's not capable of... She can do anything.
I know. For months, for a year, she was like the person to go to in like southern France. If you needed anything, she would get it for you or figure it out. She was arranging missions and collecting reconnaissance and organizing sabotage. She was helping get soldiers to freedom over the Pyrenees Mountains. She was getting fake documents for people. She was doing everything. I don't understand. And this is a quote from the book. Virginia, quote, was being benched because the men in power thought she'd gotten too big for her britches.
Oh my God, they just don't like a woman that's way cooler than they are.
I know.
Ugh!
So she took on a new cover as a correspondent for the Chicago Times in Madrid. And she kept reporting information back to the SOE, even though that wasn't, like, technically her job. She still did it. And she was like, I don't give a shit what you say. I'm not entertaining and throwing tea parties. I'm going to send information back. I'm going to be collecting reconnaissance. And I'm going to still be identifying safe houses and potential SOE recruits.
Yeah.
She doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. I'm not throwing a fucking party, you bitch.
This is how much of a shit she does not give, okay? So on July 24th, 1943, the SOE informed Virginia that she was being awarded an MBE 9, making her a member of the Order of the British Empire on behalf of the King of England.
What?
The book says Buckmaster wanted her to be made a commander of the British Empire, and the king was like, no.
No.
She never even picked it up.
Oh my God.
She did not care. She never saw it in person. As long as she lived, she did not. She probably forgot, honestly. Did not. And I'll talk about it later. It wasn't given to her family till after her death. Because she just did not give a shit.
Oh my God.
I love her so much.
She's amazing.
So Virginia was tired of what she was doing in Spain. She wanted to become a wireless transmitter operator.
Okay.
And I have a pretty long quote from Buckmaster. This was his response. What a wonder you are. I know you could learn radio in no time. I know the boys would love to have you in the field. I know all about the things you could do. And it is only because I honestly believe that the Gestapo would also know about it in a fortnight that I say no, dearest Doodles, no. You are really too well known in the country, and it would be wishful thinking believing that you could escape detection for more than a few days. You will object, I know, and that is your own neck. That it is your own neck. I agree. But we all know that it's not only your own neck, it is the neck of all with whom you come into contact, because the Boches, which is what they called the Nazis, is good at patiently following trails, and sooner or later he will unravel the whole skein if he has a chance.
Wow. It was too risky.
Yeah. And Buckmaster saw that. He said, I know, and you'd be so good at it, but it's too dangerous. You're made.
Yeah.
You're made in France. Yeah. People know who you are.
Yeah.
And Buckmaster actually completely benched Virginia. He did not want her to go back at all, and like gave her a desk job. And she was like, fuck that. So you know what she did?
What?
She started paying for her own radio operator training out of her own pocket at a training facility in England.
Because you don't tell this woman no.
No. So she finishes her training in 3 months, quits the SOE, and joins the newly formed U.S. organization, the Office of Strategic Services, or the OSS.
Wow.
And she's given the rank of first lieutenant, which is a pretty low rank, honestly. It's like 3 or 4 from the bottom. But they were like, the OSS was desperate for experienced spies. And so when Virginia was like, hey, I'll be a spy, they're like, yes, oh my God, yes. So her new mission, because she couldn't go back to the cities, because she was made. So her new mission, because she couldn't go into the cities, was to go to the French countryside. Mm-hmm. She would be disguised as an elderly woman, because no one's going to think twice about an elderly woman limping, especially if they're like a peasant or a farm laborer. Her disguise was created by Evangeline Bell, who was very, very serious about her disguises. And this is a quote from Evangeline Bell. Quote, "One mistake and our people could be executed. Their lives depended on what they wore or carried. It was our job to transform ordinary Americans into Dutch longshoremen, French factory workers, even a member of the Nazi SS police."
Wow.
So some spies would like undergo plastic surgery. Like,
whoa.
It was really, really serious. Virginia didn't have plastic surgery, but she did allow her teeth to be ground down to look more like a French peasant's teeth, like an elderly French peasant's teeth, instead of like a young, like 30-year-old woman's teeth who was like in good health. Her hair was dyed gray, and she was given like multiple skirts to wear to like make it look like she had more weight, because she was pretty thin. She was pretty lean, to give her make her look like an old woman. And she would be a wireless operator transmitting information from agents in the area. So she would go to a place and then agents would give her information, and then she would send that back to the OSS. And her partner was codenamed Aramis, was the ringleader of the operation. He was the one that was like organizing it, and he was also kind of bumbling. So, and he was like a 60-year-old man, which had its own complications, as we'll see very shortly. So Virginia and Aramis arrived in Brittany on March 21st, 1944 via torpedo boat. Mm-hmm. And while they were on the beach, Aramis fell and hurt his knee.
Oh. And
they eventually did get to Paris, and they got to a safe house owned by Madame Long, one of Virginia's contacts and friends. And apparently Aramis was, quote, too talkative and indiscreet. And Madame Long was like, get this motherfucker out of here.
Oh, shit.
So Virginia had to find him like another place to stay, because he was just a blabbermouth, apparently.
What?
And he's supposed to be a spy. And he's just blah, 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 blah. Has no idea how to like keep his fucking mouth shut. So Virginia just ends up like straight ditching Aramis. She like leaves him in Paris to like, you why don't you just like do this thing? And she
you're not compromising me.
Yeah. So she goes into the countryside. She moves around a lot, like over this period of a few months. She is just kind of going like place to place to place, never staying for longer than like a few weeks at a time. And even within these different farms that she's staying at, she's not staying in the same place. Like she's going to like a shed over here. She's going to like an abandoned house a few miles down the road. Like she's constantly moving, never transmitting for more than 30 minutes at a time. again, super dangerous. And because, again, if you're transporting for more than 30 minutes, the Gestapo could find you. So the OSS had developed like a kind of system where they would, quote, transmit seldom, briefly, at irregular intervals at various wavelengths and from various places. That's a quote from the book. And so they were able to develop a kind of timetable to keep track of, like, so they could kind of develop a loose schedule so they didn't have to, they could, like, work within the timetables.
Right.
But there's other complications. So when Virginia had fled France, the SOE were like, well, she's been made in France. We can't send her. We're not going to send her back. So they started feeding false information that Virginia was still in France to send the Gestapo on a wild goose chase.
Smart.
But now she's back in France.
Oh, shit.
And Klaus Barbie is still looking for her.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Because, again, the SOE had no intention of ever sending Virginia back. That's why she had to quit the SOE and join the OSS.
Yeah.
Okay. So, between March and May of 1944, she moved between like 3 to 4 locations. She went to Surrey-Prelair and helped establish a militia of Maquis, or resistance fighters. While there, she helped train 100 men. She established arms warehouses and even got other like receptionists to help coordinate supply drops and like dishing out like materials and stuff. Just doing the shit. So not only is she doing the wireless transmitter operator stuff, she's also just like creating armies.
Okay. That's normal.
I know. So then she went to Haute-Loire and she helped organize sabotage missions there, gathering locals for reconnaissance, recruiting people who could carry out operations. And according to the book, her methods for insurgency were copied in Operation Jawbreaker against Al-Qaeda after September 11th.
What?
So her methods for insurgency were copied by the U.S. Army when they invaded Afghanistan after September 11th.
The fuck? Holy crap.
I know. I can't. I cannot. So, D-Day's approaching.
Yes. Yes. I'm still... And they didn't want this woman to be an ambassador. Like,
I know! They're like, oh, she doesn't have experience. Oh, she's too loudmouth. She talks too much.
She's a lady. Bitch. Okay, go ahead.
I would beat everyone with my prosthetic leg if I were her.
Yeah.
Cuthbert, kill! Okay, so D-Day's approaching. And she continued to help, like, the sabotage efforts are increasing because everyone's like, we got to get ready. We got to make sure that the Nazis are caught unawares. So, like, spreading misinformation, collecting intel, to the point where, like, when D-Day happened, it was a lot of Virginia's people that were sabotaging railroad lines, gathering supplies that were airdropped to, like, prevent the Nazis from moving. They were cutting telephone lines, collapsing tunnels, obtaining secret documents, seizing goods. They were just, as D-Day was actively happening, they're like, brrr, all this shit.
This is amazing.
I know. And I saw in another source, a video I watched, that she, like, in one of the places, she was living as a milkmaid. And she would make cheese and then go to, like, Nazi campsites and, like, sell them cheese and then collect secrets because she could speak German. So she'd be like, I'm this little French lady. But then also, like, could hear them talking German to each other and, like, collect information. And then she would, like, transmit them.
Sneaky bitch. You sneaky bitch.
I know.
Oh, I love you so much.
So in August 1944, she moved to Les Chambon to train more Maquis and collect supply drops. That became like a place. And Les Chambon is very important because this was a little village that just fucking just did the damn thing. Like, they
Yeah.
were a hot spot for helping Jewish people escaping to freedom. They would, like, hide people in their village, and they would, like, make sure that they got to safety. They would protect them. Even when their leaders were arrested, like, we're not stopping. We're going to continue doing the damn thing. Just
Wow.
amazing. So while at La Chambon, she sent 37 messages to London and received 22 supply drops within a month.
Holy that's almost one a day.
I know. And she had set up her radio in an abandoned Salvation Army house, and one of her boys, one of the Maquis, had to, like, pedal a bicycle to power it. And there's a painting in the notes that depicts this, where he's like, it's like a hand-powered bicycle, and she's doing her radio stuff.
Oh. Also, that dude is totally in love with her. Look at the way he's looking at her.
I know. Everyone loves this woman.
He is longing. He's pining.
And Virginia's Maquis branch fought German soldiers, like, face to face. Like, there was one story in the book where it was not a big group, and they went up against, like, this German encampment, and the way that they approached made it seem like there was a lot more
Right.
Maquis than there actually were. And they got them all. Her group of Maquis helped clear the entire area of German Nazis and French collaborators.
What?
I know. In July 1944, Virginia coordinated with the Jedburghs, or the Jeds. These were soldiers who would literally parachute into an area to help train resistance fighters, assess secret agents, and, quote, wreak general havoc. The Jed slogan was, quote, surprise, kill, vanish. So they just would go in and out.
Guerrilla tactics right there.
Right.
Yeah.
So by September, so like 2 months later, the Jeds were ready to go with 1,500 Maquis who Virginia helped finance and arm.
Wow.
So now the Allies are getting ready for the liberation of Paris. A lot of the reconnaissance and intel that was used to orchestrate the liberation was done by Virginia, who helped organize missions for recon both in the air and on the ground.
This woman just keeps getting cooler and freaking cooler. I swear.
Fucking know. That's why I've been I have not been able to shut up about this woman. She is the coolest person ever.
Oh my God.
The book credits the success of the liberation largely in part to Virginia.
Wow.
My next section is called Virginia Meets Her Man.
Oh,
Ooh.
a man.
A man.
How old is she at this point? When was she born again?
She was born in 1906, so she is almost 40.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She's like 38 at this point.
Okay.
So on September 4th, 1944, a man named Paul Guyot, alongside his partner Henry D. Riley, parachuted down into Haute-Loire as a U.S. Army operational group. Their mission was to, quote, harass Germans at all opportunities. But by the time they came down, Paris had already been liberated. And the Germans were starting to leave France, and there just wasn't really a whole lot for them to do.
Right.
So a contingent formed under Virginia called the Diane Irregulars, because again, her code name is Diane or Diana.
Yeah.
And they would gather supplies. They continued to train with firearms. And there's this one day, the Irregulars are traveling, and they find an abandoned chateau. And Paul and Henry had the boys clean it up for Virginia. She didn't have to lift a finger. And they're like, clean this house for this lady. And there's a picture of them on the balcony of the chateau. And you can see Virginia among all these men. I think it's just really cute.
Also, I did look at this earlier. Why is that dude's leg over the railing like that? His other leg is down on the ground.
Let me see.
It's to the right of her. Why is his leg over like that?
I don't know.
Also, there's like two ghosts to the left, and I just know that that's like old photography, but you can see clear through them.
Yeah.
I love this picture and everything about it.
I know, I do too. And there she is, front and center with all her boys.
With her boys.
So they had a good time. They sang songs, they played piano, they danced, had a good time. And something special must have happened this night, because after this night, Virginia and Paul were an official couple.
Oh. Okay.
They were very cute. Apparently, they had a lot of the same interests, and Paul just like straight up adored Virginia. It's really cute. And they like left La Chambon, and La Chambon to this day continues to celebrate Virginia Hall. And in their museum they have in the town, they have a bunch of information about her. You can go to previous drop sites, her safe houses that are still standing. They called her La Madone, or La Madonna. I know. I know. So they leave La Chambon, and Virginia and Paul go back to London, and they start preparing for their next mission. Their next mission, because the Germans are leaving France, they're going to go to Austria, and they're going to start like planning resistance fighters there, and they're going to start like arming them and training them resistance militias in Austria. So Virginia was named chief of team, and Paul was her right-hand man, her second in command. So after months of training, they arrive in Zurich on April 25th, 1945, and started arming resistance fighters. Hours before they were going to go to Nazi-occupied territory, they received word from the OSS telling them to stop everything. Stop. Literally, the telegram said, "Bring Diana out. Close deal."
What? Why?
Because people knew that the war was about to end.
Oh.
Virginia and Paul went back to France on May 7th.
Okay.
And the next day, May 8th, is VE Day.
Wow.
And by the 9th, the Germans had completely, officially surrendered. The war was over.
Wow.
But not Virginia's story.
She fought from the very, very beginning of World War II to the entire end of it.
Yeah.
Wow. I got chills. Like,
I know. Like, even just seeing like bring Diana out, just like gives me goosebumps. Okay. So, again, it's just how much of a shit she does not give. In 1945, Virginia became the only civilian woman to receive the Distinguished Service Cross, which is the second highest military award. She was the most highly decorated woman of World War II.
Holy shit.
And when she was told she was going to earn this reward and President Truman was going to give it to her, she said, "No, I don't want to meet the president." She did not want a public spectacle because she wanted to continue being a spy. And she did not want her face plastered on newspapers all over the country.
Did they just like give it to her?
Yeah. She had a private ceremony with Agent Donovan of the OSS and her mother. And that was like almost everyone that was there. She still didn't want the president there. She was like, "No, I don't want him there." He was like,
I mean,
sure?
You gotta respect it.
Yeah. She did not give a shit. So she officially resigned from the OSS in September of 1945. And 3 days later, it was disintegrated, essentially, by the president. She did try to find other work. Like, the book talks about, like, women after World War II trying to find work. Like, especially the women who were spies. But, like, they had big years-long gaps in their resumes, and all their work experience was classified. So they had a hard time finding work afterwards, which is ridiculous. But she did join the Strategic Services Unit in 1946, which, because immediately after World War II, the U.S. was like, communism in the USSR. Yeah. Oh, no. So she went to Italy because she could speak Italian.
Yeah.
To do reconnaissance over there, collect information about the USSR. But she ended up resigning from the Strategic Services Unit in 1948 because she didn't feel like She was being utilized effectively.
Right.
The CIA was established in 1947, and Virginia signed on in the National Committee for a Free Europe, which was a CIA front. And in 1951, she officially joined the CIA and was assigned to the Office of Policy Coordination.
Okay.
She was, quote, the first female operations officer in the covert action arm of the agency. And she did similar work that she did in World War II, coordinating missions, hiring agents, giving training, supplying covers, providing support to agents in the field. So nothing that she hasn't done before.
Right.
In 1956, Virginia became one of the CIA's first female members of the career staff, which the book calls the, quote, varsity spy squad. And this is where the pattern continues, because despite her incredible experience and despite all the work that she did during World War II, she kept trying to get like higher promotions and like to raise up in the ranks, and she was never allowed to.
Ugh. This woman single-handedly saved the Allies. And you mean you can't give her a freaking promotion? That's not good enough?
Infuriating.
Ah!
I like all your hand
motions.
No words, only frustrated hand movements. In good news, in 1957, Virginia and Paul finally married.
Aww.
So they were dating and living together for 13 years.
Damn.
But her mother, again, she's a high-class lady, and she wants Virginia to marry a high-class man. Never approved of, like, their union, because she was like, one, he's shorter than you, and he's younger than you, and he doesn't make enough money, so you can't marry him. And even though Virginia was, like, in her 40s and 50s at this point, she loved her mother, so she was just like, okay, I won't marry him, but never broke up with him. And then finally, like, Virginia was 51, Paul was, like, 43, and they finally got married. Paul definitely drank his respect women juice, for sure.
Yeah.
Fully supported her being, like, she was the primary breadwinner, and he was like, that's totally fine. He became a house husband. I wrote house spouse.
House spouse.
Yeah, but he was like, yeah. They had a wonderful, peaceful life together. They lived in Barnesville, Maryland. They vacationed frequently, spent all their time outside. They gardened. They had a farm with goats. They went fishing. They went hunting. I think in the book, it says that Virginia loved Paul because he would just drop everything to go fishing with her.
Oh.
They had a greenhouse. They had 5 poodles that they adored. And I have a picture of Paul and Virginia with their poodles.
Look at them.
I know. So in the late 50s and 60s, Virginia worked in the Western Europe Political and Psychological Division of the CIA. The book posits she was likely involved in CIA shenanigans in South America and North Africa when all those, like, political coups were going on.
Ooh.
So she may have been doing those. In 1966, Virginia turned 60 and was forced to retire because apparently you could not work after the age of 60, according to the CIA. It doesn't seem like it was a her thing. It was, like, a policy thing.
Yeah.
But it seemed like she didn't want to retire.
Yeah, she wasn't done.
Many of her colleagues in the CIA felt that she was underutilized due to men in power's insecurity at her competence. This is a quote from the book. Quote, her official CIA bio mentions how Dindy had more combat experience than most of the agency's male officers, including many of its future directors, and that because the men around her felt threatened and overshadowed, she was sidelined, shunted into backwater accounts.
Wow, that wrapped it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 14 years, she was only promoted 1 rank.
What? What?
I know.
That is so infuriating.
I know. It's so infuriating. And sadly, in 1979, Paul suffered a stroke.
Oh.
And it appeared to have a change in his personality because Virginia became his caretaker afterwards, and their relationship became really difficult.
Yeah.
Which is really sad. And on July 8th, 1982, Virginia Hall died at the age of 76.
Wow.
After her death, one of Virginia's associates in La Chambon wrote that she had been awarded the Croix de Guerre with Palm. The with Palm, quote, designates the award for heroic deeds performed in combat. So it's like a French cross.
Yeah.
With high honors, essentially.
Wow.
And the records, there were 2 different fires, one in the SOE records and one in the French National Archive. And so records of Virginia winning the French Cross or being awarded the French Cross were lost. But there's documentation of her winning this award in Normandy at a tiny little archive there.
Oh.
So there's proof that she got it. And she just never knew. And in 1984, some of the Maquis who had trained under Virginia, like reconnected and like got a group together to like remember her and their other comrades and like drank wine and just like reminisced on the war. In 1988, Virginia was one of the first people to be inducted in the Military Intelligence Corps Hall of Fame. And in 2006, the French ambassador to the United States held a celebration for Virginia Hall at his residence, acknowledging her contributions to the French resistance, which is the first time France had publicly acknowledged her role during World War II. In 2006.
What the fuck?
And at this celebration, the British ambassador gave Virginia's family the certificate of her MBE. By the way, your I think one of her only surviving relatives is her niece named Lorna Catling. That's who the author met with, and she was awarded this cross. Yeah. And she still has it. If you look, there's a picture of it. I think she has like a museum in her house. But I'm just imagining them like, by the way, your aunt was a member of the British Empire. Here's the proof. She didn't care.
Not once did she see this.
At all. The CIA named a training center after her called the Virginia Hall Expeditionary Center. And she was also chosen to represent their guiding principle of service. Because they have, the others are excellence, integrity, courage, teamwork, and stewardship. So she represents service. Mm-hmm. Paul's family in France sent Virginia's family her old wireless radio.
Wow.
And they donated it to the National Spy Museum. The book mentions that, according to a CIA agent named Tony Hiley, who was the CIA's museum director, a field operative asked if she could have one of Virginia's code names for some additional luck for her first mission. There was a movie called A Call to Spy that was made in 2019, and it is about Virginia Hall, Vera Atkins, and another woman named Noor Inayat Khan, who's another spy for the SOE. Mm-hmm. And there's another movie that's in the works based on the book A Woman of No Importance that's supposed to be starring Daisy Ridley and directed by J.J. Abrams. It's been in production since 2017, but I couldn't find anything about it. It's like continued production, so it may just be in like development hell right now.
Yeah.
I got that. I don't even know if I think I just came across it. And at the time there was just like a few books that were written, but now there's like several books. Like if you look up Virginia Hall books, there's going to be a lot of results.
Wow.
But again, the one I read was called Codename Badass, True Story of Virginia Hall. It's in the source notes. And that is Virginia Hall.
Oh my God. Now I know why you were so obsessed and so excited in that intro.
I was so excited to talk about her. I could not believe she's a real person that existed.
Wow. She seems fake.
I know,
Like, I
right?
know she was real, but, like, it just... How is it real?
I don't know. I really don't. I don't know how she did all of that.
I don't think I'm breathing.
I was so,
Oh my
like,
God.
reading the book. I was just, like, devouring page after page. Like, I'd have to, like, every time the author would, like, cut in with, like, a snarky joke or something, I was like, shut up. I need to read more about Virginia.
Shut up!
Stop
What about
talking.
Virginia?
Stop talking.
You did such a good job at this.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I wanted to do her justice, and there was just
You
so much
did.
information.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is one of your longest ones I think you've done. Normally it's me that gets long-winded, but it's not even like... We did very little, like, BSing through this one. This was just heavy facts, just like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap.
And Emily just, like, gasping, like, what? No.
Arm movements.
What?
Those are genuine reactions because I'd never heard of this lady before.
I didn't either. So I guess I have a list on my phone about just some topics, and I guess I had watched, like, a drunk history about her, which does not do her justice at all.
No, they're like 30 minutes long. Yeah.
If that. So I guess I was like, oh, she sounds like a cool person I would want to research, and I completely forgot. Because I had started looking up another topic, and everything I Googled was just nothing. Like, I couldn't find anything, so I was like, okay, well, what's next on my list? Virginia Hall. I wonder who that is. Googled her, the most dangerous spy in World War II, the Limping Lady, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And I started to dig a little deeper, and I was like, wow, okay, she sounds like a really cool woman. And I watched a couple of YouTube videos. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is definitely my topic.
Got
I'm
it.
definitely researching her. And then I was trying to find a book to see if, like, I could, like, find anything on my Kindle. And I checked Libby, and the book I read came up as an ebook on Libby. And I was like, fantastic.
Yeah.
Free books. I love free books. And yeah. And now we're here.
Oh my God. Oh man, I want to meet her.
I know. She's such a cool lady. And the more I researched, and especially when I got to stuff about her childhood, I was like, Emily will love this woman.
Oh, I love her.
Tomboy.
I love her so much.
You know, there was a brief moment in my healing journey after my accident that they actually threw around the idea like they're going to have to amputate. They really did. They broached that subject with me at 10 years old, which was like rude, but I honestly, I've thought about it a lot, and I think I would have her mentality with the thing. I would name it. I would throw it at people when I'm mad. I respect it. I respect it has a name. Where she just talks about it like it's a person. I think I would do the exact same thing.
Cuthbert's giving me some trouble. Well, if he's giving you trouble, have him eliminated. Oh, I saw that everywhere. I bet she lulled. Like, I bet that's part of what got her over the mountain. It would have gotten me over the mountain.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
yeah.
would have you eliminated, Cuthbert, if you keep pissing me off. Keep hurting my stump.
Oh, my God. And you know, the pain that she went through every day alone is heroic.
Oh, absolutely.
Just living her life. And then,
it's not
like
she
her
could
doing
pop
all this
a couple
anyway.
Tylenol or ibuprofen either.
No. No.
And I didn't even mention this, but the book talks about it. Because of all that she was doing, she and other spies had to, like, take a ton of amphetamines just to, like, make it through each day.
Wow.
Oh my God. I feel like I could just gush over her until I die, I think.
I know. Like, when I say I've not been able to shut up about her, every time I've been alone with Kyle for longer than 5 minutes, I'm like, can I tell you another fact about Virginia Hall? Oh, did you? And, like, I'll start saying something. He's like, you already told me. I'm like, no, I'm telling you a different thing. I got 2 hours of nonsense to tell ya.
I love it. You know, throughout this whole story, I kept thinking back, how different would her life have been had she married that first guy?
Oh, God. We would not know who she is.
No.
I don't think. Or
Probably
she would have,
not.
like, swam to Europe to fight in World War II. I think the book even, like, thinks about that. And because the book, I will say, one thing I did appreciate is that it does a lot of reflection about the role of women in World War II and just in society in general. And I think it does posit that if she had not been in Europe during the fighting, if she had married her first husband, it says that she definitely probably would have been one of the Rosie Riveter types to just, like, step up in whatever way that she could to support the cause.
But because she was
us.
not tied down to one location, to one person, you're right. How lucky for us. Wow. I'm telling you, things happen, and then it has the domino effect, and then you get something. Oh, I got chills again. Oh, this is great. We should probably get into socials.
Yeah, let's do it. We can continue gushing about Virginia in our own time.
Yeah. Okay. You can find us on Facebook.
Ill-Equipped History podcast group and page. Please gush about Virginia to us on Facebook.
Yes.
We love it.
Oh my God. Instagram.
At Ill-Equipped History. You can gush there too. That's fine.
Yeah. TikTok, where we're probably going to gush.
At Ill-Equipped History.
And Gmail.
Ill-equippedhistory@gmail.com. Send us an email about how much you love Virginia Hall.
And Patreon.
Patreon.com/ill-equippedhistory. Maybe we'll send you a sticker about Virginia Hall.
Listen, I'll make a sticker about Virginia Hall, and I will send it to you with all the other stickers you get. And we'll continue to gush.
Yes. And we also have bonus episodes on our Patreon. Not about Virginia Hall, but about other really cool things and topics.
Yeah, the car episode for this month was really funny.
Yeah.
It was like wacky modes of transportation and the ideas that some people had. It's like, I applaud you for innovation, but what the fuck is that? What is that?
Fair. That's yeah. That kind of sums it up in a nutshell.
All right. Well, you know, as they say, when in Rome. So when in France, be a spy.
Like Virginia Hall, not like the other bumbling ones.
Oh yeah, and if you're a spy, shut up about it. Oh my God. Shut up.
Be discreet.
Discreet. Don't be yelling that you're a spy.
That's a good way to get caught. Don't do that.
Actually, that ties into last week too, when they kept blabbing about the attack and how they did the attack. If you do a crime or if you're a spy, shut up. Actually, if you did crime, talk about it so we can catch you. But like,
Yeah.
That's how you get caught.
Right.
So, you know.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.